Hello, welcome to Lesson 8 with Mr. Appel. Today we'll be talking about the U.S. Census. Today, April 1st, is actually Census Day. So it's quite appropriate that we take time out right now to talk about the census. If you'd like to know more about the census, I highly recommend going to census.gov, the official U.S. government website on the census. So what is the census? The census is a count undertaken by the United States government to see how many people live in this country. It happens every 10 years. So it is decennial, meaning every 10 years. And it is a way to figure out the population of the United States of America. How many people live in all 50 states. Why do we do this? Well, when the Constitution was being written back in 1787, the founding fathers, people like Alexander Hamilton, George Washington, Ben Franklin, etc., they were having disputes, disagreements on what our legislative branch should look like. Should our legislative branch be where every state is equal and every state gets the exact same amount of members, and the other states were saying, like Virginia, no, we want more members because we have more people. So they came up with the compromise, the Connecticut Compromise, and as we learned in other lessons, the legislative branch was broken in half. It has two houses, the Senate, which is 2 per state, and the House of Representatives, which is based on the population of your state. The more people you have, the more members you get. Well, for one thing, you have to know how many people are in each state. So that's why Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution, and you can look it up on your own, the Constitution is very much available online. Article 1, Section 2 calls for a census to be taken every 10 years so that they can know how many people live in each state. Once the census is taken, then the government can go to the next step, which is apportionment. Apportionment means giving out each state its portion of how many members it should get. So the more people you get, the more members you will get. Well, let's take a look at some data that you can, again, look up online. It's all widely available. In 1790, the first census, because the census always takes place in a year ending in 0. 1790, the first census, the United States had 3,929,326 people, including slaves. In 1840, we had 17,069,453 people, including 2,400,000 African American slaves. Now that's a whole separate discussion, but slavery existed up until 1865, and slaves were not counted as full people. For every 5 slaves, they counted as 3 people. It sounds horrible, but it was actually a compromise at the Constitutional Convention because the North didn't want the South getting credit for all the slaves it owned, but therefore they were counted as 3/5 of a person. That's called the 3/5 Compromise, if you want to look that one up. By 2010, we had 308,745,538 people, and California was the most populous state. In the beginning, Virginia was the most populous state. Then New York was for a very long time, but we're not anymore. So, getting back to apportionment. Apportionment is so important because it determines how many members in the House of Representatives your state is going to get. And it determines how many votes your state will count for in the presidential election. So let's take a look. California, this is from the 2010 census. California had the largest population. They got 53 members of the House of Reps. You take the amount of House of Reps members they got, plus the 2 senators, because every state gets 2 senators, and that final number is the amount of electoral votes the state will be worth in the election. So this year, God willing the election takes place, California will be worth 55 electoral votes. Texas will be worth 38. New York and Florida will be worth 29 each. Pennsylvania and Illinois will be worth 20 each. Pennsylvania, Illinois. Why does this matter? Because when people run for president, they have to win. It doesn't really matter who wins the overall vote of the country. That's called the popular vote. You need to win the electoral vote. So you want to make sure you get these votes. All you have to do is win the state. If you win New York by 1 vote, you get 29. If you win New York by 1,000,000 votes, you get 29. Doesn't matter how much you win by, you just have to win that state. And that's what happened in 2016 when Donald Trump was elected, and that's what happened in 2000 when George W. Bush was elected. Both times they didn't win the popular vote, but they did win the electoral vote. It also happened in 1888, and it happened in 1876, and it also happened in 1824. So it's actually happened 5 times where a president was elected without winning the popular vote. So the census will be taken. It started already. I already filled out mine. Your family might have already received a letter in the mail with a code. You can fill it out online, and it's important that you do because you want to make sure that you are counted, especially for New York. We live in New York State, although wherever you're living, watching this, you want to make sure your state gets the amount of representatives it deserves. And you also want to make sure that your state is counted correctly because the amount of people you have also will affect how much money you get from the federal government. We've been talking a lot about the federal government. There are 7 states, by the way, who only get 1 representative because they have such a small population. That would be Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, and Delaware. Every state is entitled to at least 1 representative. So that's a bit about the census. Again, I want you to go on census.gov. I want you to find out about it. I want you to talk to your parents. Maybe they got the census in the mail and they haven't filled it out yet because we're in such a hectic time right now. But I know it's bad timing, but we need to fill out our census. We need to take our part. In fact, the House and the Senate actually passed a law, I believe in 1984, that if you lie on your census or you try to ignore it, you could actually get fined. It's actually a crime. That's how serious it is. So please fill out your census, do your part, and we'll see you later in the week. Take care, be safe.